Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. This is Jim McKeeth. Welcome to this webinar. And I did not sleep much last night, so I'm actually hitting some caffeine right now. And mostly that's because I'm actually really genuinely very excited about what we're sharing today. And I think this is neat. I honestly think this has, I really think this has the potential to really rock your world, shift what it means to be a Delphi developer, and just really have a huge impact. So let's jump right into this here. This is PyTorch for Delphi with Python data sciences libraries, data science libraries, which I'm not sure the correct grammar there, if it should be sciences, because it's multiple sciences, or single sciences. Who's on the stream? I've got, unfortunately, you're stuck with me again, but we've also got Priyatham and Lucas, who are our developers that are building these awesome Python libraries we're working on. Priyatham's mostly doing the documentation, Lucas is mostly doing the development, but they are both helping me out, collaborating, and making stuff awesome here. And Kyriakos is on from Greece, where he informed me it is, in fact, evening when I said good morning. And he is the maintainer of PyScripter and Python for Delphi. Very grateful for his help there. And then Chris Gardner from Whole Tomato Visual Assist lead developer is on, and Marco Cantu. Marco wasn't on last week, but he's on this week. And then I think Mohill and Kyle might be on later. But anyway, shifting it around, I think that's everybody that's on today with us.
Hello.
Hey, Chris.
Hi.
And Ian is on helping out with the questions as well. He might chime in if he needs to correct me on things. Actually, if you haven't heard, Dahlia's got a new book out, and Ian was just telling me how fabulous it was. So what is it, her book, Ian? Sorry, I put you on the spot.
Yeah, thread safety patterns. It's a very, very good book. I was going to do a review earlier in the week, and I started reading the book and realized it's going to take a while to write a good review. It's a very, very good book, one of the best I've read for a while. So we've got a lot of good books, but this is definitely an excellent book. So good work, Dahlia, if you're on.
Yeah, she's got some great books, but yeah, cool. So why is this a big deal? Well, we need more components. I know what you're already thinking. Hey, we got lots of components, man. Delphi ships with tons of components. Well, that's great because as developers, we're more productive when there's existing component or library. I remember way back in like Delphi 7 timeframe, there was a chess component. You just dropped on your form, and it was a chessboard, chess pieces, and a chess AI. Boom, ready to go. That's pretty awesome. Not real practical. I mean, realistically, but it's cool. And that's one of the things I love about Delphi is just all the great components, and it makes it easy to just get a lot of stuff done quickly. So I guess a huge ecosystem of tech partners, open source components, libraries, and such out there. But, you know, it'd be awesome to have even more. And, you know, say what you will about Python, whether you like it or not, it has possibly one of the richest ecosystems of components and libraries out there, especially for data sciences, AI, and machine learning. Realistically, everything, I mean, if you say working in data sciences, AI, or machine learning, you're probably saying you're working in Python. That's just where it's at today for those technologies. So here's the thing, wouldn't Delphi and C++ Builder could easily use all of those components? That would be pretty cool. So how many are we talking about here? PyScript, or if you go to PyPy, which is the directory for pip package installs for Python, they have 380,000 projects. I'm not saying we're going to get all those access to today, but just kind of give you an idea of what's possible here. And anytime I have an opportunity to put an XKCD comic in a presentation, you know I'm going to do it. This was back from 2007, where he discovered Python programming. He just typed import anti-gravity, and he can fly. And the cool thing is, actually, the Python developers added an anti-gravity package to Python that if you import it into Python, it opens this webcomic up in your in your browser, which is kind of cool. So, a couple general notes. I'm not going to read all these, but I do want to touch on the C++ Builder and Delphi specifically. Is that we're focused on Delphi, and that's where our first goal is. This is really an early access. Showing right to here showing to you. Lucas showed me this, and I'm like, oh, we got to do a demo. He's like, well, it's not done yet. I'm like, that's okay. We still got to show this off. This is so cool and so exciting. So, but we do expect and do plan to reach C++ Builder as well later, but just as a matter of process, we're targeting Delphi first and working our way across. They're all on GitHub, and actually, Priyatham, if you can grab my slides and make sure you put the links in for everybody as I come up on the screen for the different projects, that would be awesome. Or somebody can in the chat window. They mostly working. I'm going to show you some demos today, and it's all cross-platform. So we definitely want your feedback. Go out and check out these projects on GitHub, star them, leave comments, make suggestions, so on and so forth. So you've probably seen this diagram, our Python ecosystem, which is really flushing out quite a bit. That's okay, even if you're a Delphi developer. The bottom half is for Delphi developers, and that's where we're at today. We're looking at these three new projects, the Python environments, the lightweight Python wrappers, and the Python for Delphi data sciences library. This is cool. So if you're not familiar with it, Python for Delphi is the bridge it's a bidirectional bridge between Delphi and Python. It lets Delphi use Python and lets Python use Delphi. Beautiful, originally made. I guess, Kirikos, you're not the original author of it, but you've been maintaining it for quite a while, right? I'm on the spot here, but
yes, indeed.
Yeah. Okay. So so shout out to Kirikos, been maintaining it, working on it for quite a while. Lucas has done quite a bit of work on it, adding Android support and other things. We're making lots of changes to it, but it's a fantastic, great bridge here to kind of bridge that gap. So our goals with these projects were to give Delphi and eventually C++ developers access to all Python libraries. And the idea is, I like Python. Python's cool, but maybe some of you are like, I don't want to mess with Python. I just want to do cool stuff in Delphi, and I don't want to understand using white spaces for structured programming and all that stuff. So that's fine. We're like, okay, we got you. So we're gonna give you full access, but still give you the ability, to not have to know Python, not have to work with Python, but if you want to, it's still there. And just simplify the setup on your computer, simplify end-user deployment, all cross-platform, no internet connection required to get started, just get going. So we have three new projects here, and let's get started talking about these. First one is Python environments. So this was actually the last one to be added, and the goal of Python environments is to make it ridiculously easy for you as a Delphi developer to get your Python environment set up for development, whatever if you're using the Python for Delphi, if you're using the data sciences, whatever you're wanting to do. There's three different options available here. You can drop down an environment and you can say, I just want to use an existing Python install, no problem. You can point it to a archive or download your Python environment, where it'll just go out and download the environment off the internet when the program runs and set it all up for you in the background, and you don't have to worry about it. It does an embedded environment, so it's an environment just for your application. Or you could point to a different embedded environment. So if you have like a bunch of programs together and you want them to all share the same embedded environment, you can do that. Or, this is the cool thing, you can drop a component that will actually embed the embedded environment in your application. So it sets up and runs all on its own. So this gives you the one exe deployment, which I know is a huge deal for a lot of people. So you don't want to have to sit or run an installation. There you go, right there. Just drop the component and you're good to go. At runtime, it automatically verifies and configures the environment, make sure pip or conda, which are the two main package managers, are working. You can do it offline even with the embedded one. It's real modular and flexible. It's really easy. Seriously, it's very, very easy to get going with. I'm quite impressed. And it works across all the platforms. We've tested it on Android, Windows, macOS, and Linux. So even on Android, it works. So the next one is the lightweight Python wrappers. And this is kind of the basis that the data sciences library is built off of. It is a framework for that lightweight makes. Sorry, it is very self-descriptive. It is what it says on the tin. It takes a Python library and creates a lightweight wrapper on it, so you can just use it from Delphi. Straightforward. There's a few things we still want to do on it. We want to make automatic wrapper generation. It's actually so simple. You don't really need automatic, but hey, might as well because it is really simple. It also want to have a Python to Delphi code translation, so you could take a snippet of Python code, translate it to Delphi, and I'll show you some examples of what the differences between them look like, so that you can take advantage of these libraries. So if you have like a Python library you want to use and you got some example codes in Python, the idea is it could just translate it for you into Delphi and it would just work like magic. There's also, it is using late binding, which gives more flexible syntax, but it means that there's no code completion or IDE integration. So that's something we're also looking at doing through a IDE add-in. So that's also on the to-do list. So as of today, Lucas has done most of this. I say we, I mean Lucas, have wrapped the following libraries with this. And this is the Python for Delphi Data Sciences library. You can go grab these, and there's a list of libraries, machine learning, AI related. I will say though, the natural language toolkit, I added that one. And somebody asked, oh, does it support natural language toolkit? I was mentioning it in a forum, and I was like, no, it doesn't. And I was like, oh, I wonder how hard it would be to add it. It literally took me, and Lucas had given me an overview of it, but I hadn't really dived into the code and messed with it much yet. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna try it and see. And it took me 2 hours to figure out how to add it. Lucas didn't tell me how to add a new one. I just looked at it. It's like, oh, this isn't that complicated. Added in there, made a demo, and it worked. So really, really easy to extend because of the way it's all encapsulated in there. And we're looking at other libraries to that. So I'm going to show you what was involved in me adding the natural language toolkit. That's the code right there for the component that you drop on the form. And the reality is, all that up on top is just boilerplate. The only code is down here. Really, I mean, the Nltk, the name of it, right? But all I would do is get the package name, what package manager it uses, and the name of the package to install. And that's really it. That's all there was to adding Nltk to Delphi. And then I have a component. And I probably spent more time making this beautiful icon for it, because Nltk doesn't have an icon, which I thought was kind of odd. It doesn't have a logo of any kind. And yeah, that was it. So what does that mean? So here is, if you go to nltks.org website, this is the example code they have up on their homepage. So this downloads the data from the internet for the model. You only need to do that once. And then after that, you give it a sentence. You can tokenize that sentence, display the tokens here. You can then tag it, and then here it's displaying the tags, and then get the named entities. So named entities, here we're saying person, right? So person is author, subject here. So it gives you this ability to analyze language. It's pre-trained for English. It doesn't have other languages. I don't believe there's a way to add other languages, but pretty powerful when it comes to parsing natural language. So that's what the Python code looks like. And now if your eyes are glazing over and you're like, I don't understand Python, I don't want to do Python, that's fine, because here's the Delphi code. And yes, I know there's a with statement in here. You don't have to use the with, you can do it other ways, but it makes it easier to map this to be very similar to the way the Python code looks. But like I said, you can do it other ways. So here, right here, I'm grabbing the sentence here from a memo and calling tokenize. Pretty straightforward. And then I use var py2strings, and I display tokens in a list box. And then here we're going to tag it and display it in a list box. And then we're going to get the entities by calling chunk and display it in a list box. This is less code than doing it in Python. I'm so excited. So it compiles down to a single exe. And here's my application. I have the memo to get it here. This button to grab the tokenizing, and actually have a status bar down here, and this is where it displays the status of installing and setting up the Python environment, and the components here to do it. So you just drop the components on the form. This is the embedded environment, so this embeds the entire Python 3.1 environment into my exe, and I can deploy this on any machine, doesn't have to have Python and set up on it. And if it does have Python, it will set up its own environment separately from Python, so it's not going to mess anything up, not going to interfere with any other environments. You connect the components together, make the UI. The tokenize button is disabled, but then we have an event that will respond to in order to re-enable it once Python is enabled. It's pretty easy, but depending on the level of verbosity you want to have about the state of Python, you could do quite a bit of code. So you can just say, hey, tell me when it's done, or you can say, tell me what you're doing right now, and I want to display information to the users. And you got quite a bit of flexibility. And so here is running. I'll show you an example of it here in just a second. First run, it does take a while to set up the Python environment and actually download the models and stuff, but then subsequent runs, it's very quick. It just takes us like a split second to validate the environment and load everything up. So once you deploy it, this is what it's going to look like. You have here's my exe I made. Once I've ran it, it makes this folder here. So interesting thing here is this exe is just 43 megabytes, which, okay, it's kind of big for a simple application, but you can do it. You can do it as an external archive or download it as well. That's an option. But it actually expands this out and sets this up into a 95 megabyte Python install. So it does quite a good job of bundling this all up into very minimal, very, very lightweight deployment.
Going to start with the PyTorch demo and then go back to the Nltk demo. But the PyTorch demo is going to show it's got multiple parts to it, a mobile app to collect images to be sent to a server that will run a classifier. This is doing detecting thumbs up and thumbs down, which kind of sort of the hello world of image classification, but it's a pretty cool example, all built in Delphi.
All right, here we go. This is the PyTorch sample that's in GitHub, downloaded straight from GitHub. And I'm going to go ahead and build it. I've installed all the other packages that are necessary. I am building for Win64, and this is building for Android. That's done. So I'm going to go to the folder here where everything's built into, and I go into the bin directory, and I have the different programs that were built. This is an installer. You just run this and it installs all the Python prerequisites, which you can see it's doing right now, creating this Python folder. This is the server GUI that we run this. It makes a server that the mobile app connects to, and it uses these two here to do the training. I'm going to go ahead and deploy this onto my Android device, and I will uninstall it since I installed it earlier. And this takes a little bit to get everything installed here as far as the Python setup does, but this is a one-time thing I'm about to do. All right, so this is installed. I'm going to turn on screen recorder here. And it's asking if it can access the camera, which it needs to take pictures. That's its purpose. So I'll say while using the app. And it wants to have storage to store the devices on the phone. So I'll give it permission for that. So now I have to give it the IP address of my host here, which I don't have memorized. It's right there. And we need to fix that font. It's a little hard to see. So this is done. I need to go ahead and run the server now. This setup finished. And I'll run the server GUI, start it up, and I hit continue on here, and it's connected. So now I'm going to collect some data. That's if I want to collect what class I'm collecting. So we'll say I'm collecting a thumbs up, and I want to just point this at my thumb and take a picture. And keep that one. And we'll do another one over here with the white background. Keep that one. And we'll do one down here on the floor. Okay. And then I want to go back and I want to collect some more data. I want to collect thumbs down. I'll do the same thing. Over there. Over there. Over there. And now I'm going to tell it to train the model. So this is connecting to the server, and it's going to have the server run the training. And so I just hit start. So it's connected to the pipe, training the profile, and this is going to take a couple minutes to do. It's going to take all the images, including the ones I just took, along with the about 1,000 that we already have on here, which I can show you those images. Transfer learning, training data, default. So here's the thumbs down images. A lot of them in there, and oh, that's a README. That doesn't need to be in there. Screw that. Wait, maybe it does. I'm gonna leave that. And then here's the thumbs up images. These are mostly Lucas images or pictures of my own thumb, and then I collected some from some various free Creative Commons 0 licensed clip art sites, and then I found a set of training data that had lots of thumbs up and thumbs down there as well. So I've combined all that together, and here's about 1,000 images in that, and it's going to go through and train all of those and put them into right here. This is the model that's being created, and actually it's the old model, but it's rewriting it here. And all the code here for this is all Delphi code. There's no Python code in here. See? All Delphi code. Using PyTorch right there and just training it. Hopefully I'll remember to fast forward this part so you don't have to watch it live. Bring up the GitHub page here. So this is before the webinar. We have 3 stars. That's how many stars we have before this day is over. I'm really excited about this project. I expect that number to just explode. There are other demos in here as well. You can check out, there's 2 sets under PyTorch here. This is the transfer learning, but the time sequence prediction is just a nice, simple, short demo. And I do want to point out this is early access, so you're more than welcome to play with it and file bug reports, but we are still working on it. Okay, model training, model successfully trained. And so now I can go back and go into live recognition. Turn on the recognizer. There we go. Not going. There we go. So you see on the right, it says it went up to thumbs up. I go like this. And the slider goes down to thumbs down. Oh, come on. What's going on here? It's trying to go thumbs down. Oh, this is working good before. There we go. So something it doesn't like about the mixed up background there. But now it's getting really good thumbs down and thumbs up. So I need to put some more images in there, do better training, and it will do better discovery. So there we go. I think that's pretty dang exciting.
Isn't that cool? Lucas actually pointed out to me that the reason there was a little delay before it started recognizing is it has to fire up the recognizing the engine. But so that's why I clicked on it a couple times there. But anyway, so I should have done this slide first. PyTorch, it's an open source machine learning framework. This is a classifier example, classifying, recognizing whether it's thumbs up or thumbs down. If you watch the show Silicon Valley, the guy on there made Not a Hot Dog. It's the same basic idea, right? Is that a hot dog or not a hot dog? And they actually made that app, put it in the App Store. You can go check it out. But it's kind of the hello world of machine learning image classification. Not real practical, but it's an interesting way to show you what it can do. Right, so now I'm going to show you real quick the Nltk demo and the code for that. So let me switch over to that here, and it's my other screen. Share. So there's the non-visual components here. This is the Python embedded environment component, and the Nltk component here. We connect it to the environment and the engine. So this is the Python for Delphi engine. And then it also uses NumPy. Actually, I don't know if it uses NumPy in here. I think that's right. Nltk uses NumPy. That's why that's on there. So that's it there. Then the tokenized code is right here. So we just saw this in the slides. And there's a draw mechanism here, but it's trying to use tkinter, which we don't have installed. So we're going to figure out a way to make that work in without using tkinter. But the rest of the code in here is mostly for just displaying the process of setting up. You can actually do it without the code, except for the code that enables the tokenized button, which is one. From create, we'd set button 1 disabled. There it is right there. So it's in the anonymous method. Lucas refactored this for me to make it work a little better. I wrote it without this code here, and it worked. I just didn't have the really nice status bar display and stuff like that. So he cleaned it up to make sure it works more reliably, which I appreciate. But anyway, that's it. That's all there was to it. So let me go back to my slides. Hopefully you're getting excited, because I'm really excited, and it's not just the caffeine. I've been excited for a few days about this. So here's some other libraries we're looking at adding as well. And we just discovered this one last night or a couple days ago called Yolo V5, which is a pre-trained object detection architecture that supposedly works really fast, even just on your GPU. Doesn't require CUDA or any special, or I'm sorry, just on your CPU. Doesn't require GPU or anything like that. So that should be cool. So some cool ones here we're looking at adding. We did a, was it, I can't remember what it was. We had a session on using Beautiful Soup via Python for Delphi. So it involved a mix of Python and Delphi. But hey, let's make a great scraper of data right straight from Delphi itself. So I went out to PyPy and said, hey, what's the top 20 downloads from the last 30 days? And this is what they were. And I don't know what Botto 3 is, but there were 343 million downloads of it. So it sounds like it might be kind of cool. We'll have to look at adding that one as well. So there's a lot of potential libraries we could add. Not saying all of these are going to get added at all or even in the near future, but that is a cool idea. So the links for this should be in the chat, or if you're watching the YouTube replay, I'll put it in the description there. Go out and check these projects out, install them. They are early access. I've had pretty good luck with it. I've not really had much issues where things weren't working. There's a couple things it's like, I'm not sure what's going on, but that could be my learning coming up to speed on it as well already. So check it out, star it. So let's see here. The question, how do you know what version of the library is downloaded? For example, what version of Nltk is running in the sample? I think Lucas can address that. There is a lot of control. The idea is we wanted to make it so it's as simple as possible, but also give you the ability to jump in and do stuff like that. So I have not gotten into that level of it, but I'm pretty sure it is there because, yeah. Eli says, like the productivity boost. Oh, is that you, Lucas?
Yeah, actually we have a property to define which version will be downloaded.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was there. And then you can read it as well. And then roll fast wrapper for OpenCV. It's already in there. You can go check it out. I'll pull up the packages. P4D OpenCV right there. We don't have a demo for it yet, but there it is. You can just go grab it and use it. So okay. And then there's a question about packages for geography like GeoPandas. Not yet, but I showed you how easy it was. Go out there and all you have to do is, if you just want to go and so you need to install these libraries here, which we have links to them, and we're working on setting up Boss to do dependency management for you. But right now you're install them all manually, and you can go through and just look at how easy this code was, and you can. Oh, these are the packages. I was like, where's the source code? Nltk. So I didn't show you the registration. That's the registration for a unit, and then here's the code right there. So just take a look at this, and it's that easy to add it. So you can add one in there and get it going. Is there written API documentation? So for the Python libraries, there is documentation. The translation from Python to Delphi is pretty straightforward, so confident you can figure that out pretty quickly. There's not documentation yet on these libraries that are new, these new libraries, but we're working on it. Like I said, this is very, very early access. Lucas is like, I want to show you what I'm working on. I'm like, we got to tell everybody. He's like, it's not done yet. I'm like, I know, but I still want to tell everybody. So there is not yet, Simon, but if you would like to help with that documentation, that would be fantastic. These are free open source, and we're definitely looking for contributions in however form, whatever form it takes. Any other questions, or anybody on Chris or Marco or whatever, if anybody's on here wants to ask questions?
I'm just enjoying learning about this stuff and what you can do with, yeah. I haven't used PyTorch much or Delphi, so this is really interesting.
Yeah, I am really excited.
Similar tools.
Mm-hmm.
And the capabilities are really impressive. So
yeah,
it's easy. That's the most important thing. Making machine learning easy. It's super duper hard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's oh, sorry. Go ahead. What's that?
No, I was just saying, so you can like play with it, you know, and learn more about it pretty easily with all these packages and stuff, like you were saying. Makes things easy.
Yeah, I agree. It's very nice, and it's yeah, of course, people can do some project in Python and then do the UI in Delphi and find ways to integrate. But this level of integration where you basically are, well, there is Python beneath, but you don't touch it directly. I think for someone who's focused on Delphi development is actually very nice.
Yeah, yeah, and that was really the goal. Is I did the webinars on Python for Delphi a couple years ago, and a lot of people were like, Python, I don't like it. And that's fine, I get it. So so the question, someone was asking questions about Python for Delphi documentation. If you come out here, if you go to the wiki, there is some tutorials and demos and stuff like that in here, documentation there. If you go into the demos folder, there's a lot of demos here, each one showing one simple thing. And if you go into tutorials, there is the webinars, details from the webinars. There's also an introductory tutorial written by Dr. Kevin Bond, so you can check that out. Another tutorial by Max Kleiner. So there's lots of, there's not like a full API documentation, but there's a lot of documentation and tutorials and examples and stuff like that. What about app size on Android? So Rolf, it is going to be, so you can make a really small Hello World application with Android Studio, but if you're making any kind of application, it's going to get big. I don't care what tool you're using, because so with Delphi and with this one, you're going to have some size to it. It's not going to be as big as like any of the apps you install from the App Store, probably. If you look at the size of apps you install from the App Store, they're huge. That's the reality of it. And so they are going to be big because it has a lot of libraries into it. You could probably strip it down some, but you know that you're going to have, if you're using libraries, you're going to have some size to your application. And then Swift points out there's good discussion about Python for Delphi on Delphi Praxis. That's a good point. Yes, I think that's linked somewhere here. It's right. You can find it. Delphi Praxis. Okay,
just thinking about size a little, because I think that someone mentioned that as an issue for them. I think we're living in an age where like mouse drivers are hundreds of megabytes at this point. So, you know, a couple megabytes isn't that big of a deal, in my opinion. I mean, depending on what your use is, but yeah, of course, libraries add stuff, but the value that they add is more than the size.
Yeah. Well, what I think, Marco, you were saying you were on a vacation and you were like someplace and they're like, oh, install our app to do this tourist site, and you're like, it was like 400 megabytes to install this, like.
Yeah, I remember that was some time ago. I mean, honestly, Delphi developers are used to have this minimal footprint and zero dependencies. That's kind of it's a rare world these days, because everyone has like gazillion dependencies. So I think it's important to find a balance. And yeah, I know some people will hate having any dependency for various reasons, including the size. But others, we'll just do it without any worry. And again, it's much more limited compared to the typical dependencies of today's applications built with other technologies. So I'm still on the good side. But yeah, someone just raised an issue about 2 bytes we are losing because we are doing something, and okay. I was reading that on a forum. So everyone has different desires. So yeah.
I am all for, I think it is important to give you, as much control over everything as possible, and that was kind of what we tried to do here. Is to give you very good granular control, but it does, if you want to have all the features, it does have some size that gets added to it. Eli points out that the Facebook Android app might be at least 250 megabytes at this point. Okay, so Simon said that the demos don't illustrate embedding and making import work. Presumably, Python environments resolves those problems. So there is we're working on actually simplifying that. So there is a project, if I go back to my slides here, on our here. So this lightweight Python wrappers makes it easy to go bring Python into Delphi, and then we're working on this one here, Delphi extensions for Python, to make it easier to go the other direction. So we have these existing libraries, the Delphi VCL and Delphi FMX, that are Delphi libraries embedded into Python, but then we're working on a simplified way there. So that's something we're looking at doing, working to make simpler, but you're right, it's not there fully documented yet. But it takes time. We definitely would love some help. So if you're at all interested or excited or have questions, please go out and star these projects, contribute to them, whatever the case may be. Question here, how about security updates to the embedded or installed Python environments? Yes, I believe there's a way to do that, and Lucas could address that specifically. It does, so you do have as much control over that as you want to have.
It's all gone incredibly quiet for a second. I'm not quite sure why.
Sorry, I started typing something here.
Shall I sing?
Where are matplot images rendered within web or separate images? They are rendered as images, and Lucas could address that. Actually, I can probably go out here and look at the demo, matplotlib demo. Oh my goodness, there's a demo for it. And come in here and look at this. So it's not using a web browser at all in here.
So whilst you're playing with that, I'll just mention there's been some very good questions coming up. There is a link in the chat window as well to the Embarcadero page for the Python libraries. If you go there, it's embarcadero.com/new-tools-python-delphi-for-python. But if you go there and just look under products, you'll find it, and that's just got the links to the various libraries to bring them all in one place. So if you can see that on the chat, you can click on that page and go straight to it. And most of the other questions have been asked already. There's also a blog, pythongui.org, which is sponsored by Embarcadero, which is worth going to as well. Lots of articles on there about the P4D stuff and the Delphi Delphi Python libraries, the FMX and VCL libraries. One question that's been asked is, can you use Python for Delphi with C++ builder? I think this has been asked
Yes.
before, and I can't remember. Yeah.
Yes, you can. David, I did a webinar on the topic. Simon says, personally, I'm itching to go and try out Python environments. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty easy.
I think the good thing about these projects is as well that this is one of the integrations where there's a definite benefit to both sides. I did say that in one of the answers I gave on the questions. Unlike some of the other integrations, Python benefits from the Delphi integration, and Delphi benefits as well. It's a win-win, literally. If you add the two together, you come up with something that's actually greater than the two separate parts.
Yeah.
Python, Python's very, very good at doing certain things, but Delphi is also very, very good at doing other things as well. And I think when you add the two together, you've got real kind of, I think what would the marketing phrase be? A force multiplier. That's what they call them.
There you go.
Yeah. It's great. It's very interesting stuff.
For a Python developer, this makes the whole stack, the ecosystem, more interesting, because then, if you're coming from Python, then you can start out by using, the Delphi FMX GUI framework for Python, and then you can be using the IDE add-in that lets you build your Python IDEs in Delphi and then export them run from Python. And then you can actually import your Python libraries into Delphi and use them there. So it gives you the ability to kind of, not completely seamlessly, but move between all the different layers. So Simon says, theoretically, you could give Python environments a Git URL and end up with functional code. Python code, I mean. Yes, I believe so. It's very extensible too. So Lucas can answer that better than I can, but I believe that would work. Yeah. All right. Well, I am really excited about this. I hope some of you are excited about this too, and we'll come out here and check these out. I'm actually kind of curious. We're up to 6 stars, so we got 3 more stars already. Hopefully everybody that's on this webinar will go out and can star this as well, and tell your friends to check it out. You do have impact in that regard. Tell your coworkers, tell your friends, go out and star these. Check them out. Try some demos. If you're like, add the GeoPandas, do a pull request, and we will incorporate it in. If not, make your own fork with GeoPandas or your own repository. You can just do it as a dependency, and you can make a whole Delphi Geo library that has all the geocoding Python libraries wrapped up for Delphi. So anyway, very cool. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah, thank you to everybody for being on here, and for thank you to everybody that's worked on these, Kyrikos, Lucas, Priyatham, and everybody else that's been involved in the Python for Delphi over the years as well.
Thanks, Jim. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is indeed great. And Jim has been driving a lot, so kudos to Jim.
Hey, Chris first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
I think there's a little lag, so that's why we're talking. But
yeah,
I just thought it was really interesting. That's all.
Okay.
I love machine learning and all this stuff, and Python even.
Yeah, this Yolo V5 looks really cool. I'm looking forward to adding that one in there. We can do so it's pre-trained. It uses PyTorch, everything behind the scenes, but then the idea is it's pre-trained so that you can, the training is the complicated part. So hopefully we'll get that one added soon. I did want to point out that if you are using Python for Delphi, there is, we have the Embarcadero fork of Python for Delphi, which has some of the new features in it yet. Need to work with Kyrikos to figure out which ones of these commits are when he wants to pull upstream, if we want to fork this into 2 separate, or what we're going to do long term on this. But we are doing our best to integrate all the changes that come from upstream to us. So we're in line upstream, but then we have some commits that are unique here. But just so you're aware, if you are using the other version of Python for Delphi, it does not have all of the original version doesn't have all the features necessary for the libraries we're showing here. Just because we've been changing it.
Just to say, Jim, that the downstream stuff will be gradually merged with the upstream. So yes, at the moment there are discrepancies, but most of it will find its way into the upstream version of the GitHub repository.
That's what I figured. I just know that you got a lot of other stuff going on too, and I didn't want to.
No, it's yeah, it will be merged. Yeah.
Cool. So I do really appreciate. Sometimes you have feedback on some of our merges, which is always good too. So we appreciate that. It's always good to have an extra expert giving us input and feedback on these things. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, I'm going to work on getting some more details up on these. These are really quite new. The less than a month old for these projects. So. Actually, Lucas has been working on for quite a while, but then when he showed me the code, I started telling him to make changes, and that was less than a month ago. But yeah, really cool stuff. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you online. And good luck. Go out and check these out. Install them. Give them a star. I gotta make sure I star these too, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.